This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Harry's. For guys like you who want a great shave experience at a fraction of what you're paying. Go to harrys.com and get $5 off your first purchase by entering the code WhatTheTech when you check out.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, the wonderful Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Oh man, disaster of a day here.
Yeah.
Horrible. I have
Another satisfied Windows customer.
Jeez, you know. Well, you know what? After what happened today, the argument for upgrading to Windows 10 is a lot stronger for me. Right before the show, if you're watching live, it's 3:35. We're 35 minutes late to start the show. This is something that really happens here. Normally, if we know that we're having some major catastrophic incident and things aren't working, we say, you know what, let's do it on Thursday. But everything was fine. Everything was working perfectly here. And about 5 minutes to showtime, everything stopped working. Because I made the mistake and I rebooted the machines. And I rebooted the machines, Windows came back, but with no audio, because I have to do a shutdown install, and there was a bad Windows update. So first I had to do a shutdown install. Didn't work. Then I had to remove the Windows update that affected whatever issue I was having with the embedded audio. Then I had to redo all the Windows, and then I went to reset again and said, hey, you got another 20 updates to update. But you can't restart. You got to shut down. So I had to sit through all of that, and we're finally here. Sure. Surprisingly, this doesn't happen on any of my Windows 10 machines. So these are the things, when we talk about, and we have a lot to talk, this wasn't part of the show, but when we talk about, reasons to upgrade, and listen, I'm one of these people, I'm hanging on to Windows 7 for a number of reasons. Production reasons, like this was a reason why I wouldn't go to Windows 10. I didn't want to experience issues like this because it was new, and I can't afford
Windows
to have
10
downtime.
certainly probably reboots your system often enough, that might be an issue. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. So, stuff like this happens. But it shows how far we've come from Windows 7 to Windows 10 now. And Windows 7 is old. It's an old operating system at this point. You're talking many, many years, and technology has changed dramatically. Software has become far more. You look at Windows 10. When I use my Windows 10 machine all day, and then I go to my Windows 7 machine, I notice a major problem.
Yeah.
People are saying they've never had shutdown installs. Does this not happen to people?
That's awesome.
Am I? No. But this is something that happens, right? I'm not hallucinating that there are shutdown installs. I'm not. This isn't.
The way I would put it is sometimes you have to shut it down to get it just to kind of work.
Okay. Because when you get the little thing on the bottom of the restart, the shutdown thing, and then that means that you got to do like a restart.
Yep.
To get the updates going, I restarted. It didn't do it.
Right.
I had to
that's
do
what
a
I mean.
shutdown.
Like for some reason, sometimes you shut it down, and that's what it takes.
Okay. So I'm not out of my mind. This is something that happens. So I had to go through that whole process and do it. But this is a nice argument for why new technology is sometimes better, because things like this could be avoided, because a specific issue that I'm talking about only exists on Windows 7 with embedded HDMI audio.
Right.
I have not seen this happen on any of my Windows 10 machines. I should have known better because this has happened in the past, but because yesterday I redid everything with the wiring, I thought I broke something.
Yep.
So that's why we're late here today. But nice little discussion as to why you should upgrade sometimes. By the way,
I once had so many wires going in my office that I unplugged a cable that was important for the wired connectivity in the office, and I didn't realize it. And it was just like a rat's nest of stuff. And I think what I did was I had two wired jacks in the wall, and I essentially put a cable that just connected them together. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like completely just screwed it up. And I, you know, couldn't figure out why my internet wasn't working. And half a day later,
you know, about a year and a half ago, I tore apart everything and I moved all the equipment in the studio. So Paul, you saw the studio, and before there used to be where I sit on my my right side on the floor, there were about 7 computers.
Yeah.
They were all my Skype machines and my encoding machines. It was insane in here. I mean, it was like a 747 was taken off sometimes when these things would power on. So I moved everything and I built a little server room in the basement. So when I built it, I had to run all these wires from my office through the floor into the basement. So I labeled everything. And the 2 cables that I did not label are for that one machine that was having the problem. So I freaked out. I was like, oh, God, I broke something, you know, yesterday. So now I've learned my lesson. Better label. Paul, there's a lot to talk about today. You know, I've had a lot of changes in technology. I got this new MacBook. Last week, I upset a lot of people. Windows users and Mac users. Equally.
Confused by that, but okay.
Equally, I upset all of them.
Oh, that's good. At least
statement.
You're nice to everybody.
I'm equally offending. And I just got one of these yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this. I've had 24 hours with it, and I'll give you a little quick review.
It's so silverly looking. Why?
It's gold.
Why is it so? Oh, is it gold?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it's so shiny.
Yeah, it's gold. I got the gold one. If they had the rosé version, I would have gotten that. But
of course,
I definitely. You know what? Even though it's pink, I still would have gotten it because that's like my character now.
I know.
You know, I have to. As they say in pro wrestling, you got to live the gimmick, Paul.
Yep.
But before we go into everything, before we go into all the stuff we want to talk about and a number of other things, I want to thank our sponsor, our wonderful, wonderful sponsor, and that's Harry's. If I can pull this up. There we go. Hey, Harry's. Guys, we've been talking about Harry's for a long time. I use a Harry's razor. Paul uses a Harry's razor. And my personal story, and I'm going to give you guys a little personal story. I don't like reading the copy here. I could tell you all about the high-quality, high-performance German blades that are made. I could talk about how it's delivered to your door. I could tell you all that stuff. But I want to tell you about why I use this razor. I'm not a big fan of these, like these super razors. You know, like I like kind of softer razors because my face gets torn apart if I use like one of those, you know, 3-blade and 6-blade razors that are out there. I can't use any of those things. And I've been using these, you know, cheapo, chic, really thin razors for the longest time. But after years of using these razors, I've noticed that they've gotten dull. They don't make them as well as they used to. And I'm paying a ridiculous amount for them because I'm constantly throwing them away. When Harry's joined onto GFQ and onto What the Tech, they sent me the Truman set with blades. And they said, listen, use it and be honest about it. And I used it, and it was unbelievable. I was first of all, I was terrified to use it because I thought it was going to tear my face apart. Used it. I absolutely love it. And I really changed these blades because I leave a beard, and I don't really shave that often. But nonetheless, they are phenomenal. Love these guys. Been really good to us. And I know a lot of our viewers, a lot of the people in the chat room right now have been using Harry's for some time. If you guys go to harrys.com right now, you get $5 off your first purchase by entering the code WhatTheTech when you check out. $5 off your first purchase when you enter code WhatTheTech at checkout. They got a number of things. They got the razors, they got the handles, they got accessories, they got, you know, a bunch of stuff on harrys.com. Also, you could buy it for someone else. Give your dad a gift. Birthdays are coming up. I know everybody has a birthday. Some people might not have a birthday, Paul. I'm convinced
so
some people are not from this planet. They don't have birthdays. Birthdays are coming up. Father's Day is coming up in a couple months. So harrys.com. Get $5 off your first purchase when you enter in code WhatTheTech at checkout. I want to thank Harry's for supporting the show, for, of course, supporting the GFQ Network, and my beard, because this beautiful beard is constructed with a Harry's razor. Paul.
Yes.
Where do we begin? Where do you want to talk about the S7?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, yes.
So,
Sure.
Last week, I decided I was going to get this for a number of reasons. One, first of all, my S6 is great. It's fine. But as many of you know, and Paul knows, I have a horrible time with the battery life on this thing. I can't
Yes, you do.
travel without carrying.
You cart around an external battery like an older person with an oxygen tank.
I mean,
you know?
Yeah, and I got all the wires connected.
Like, I'm surprised you don't have a little wheelie thing for it, so you can just push it in front of you.
You know what? If this one's big enough. I mean, this thing is really heavy. But I used to take this one, and sometimes wasn't enough. If I was going out like 2-3 days in a row, I need this one because this holds a way bigger charge. The battery life is not great because it's a smaller battery, and from day one, it's been brutal on me. This one is a much larger battery, much larger, and it's a much larger display also. But
what was the battery size on that? Because it's very big.
On this one, it was like 900 milliamps bigger. I texted it to you yesterday, right? We were talking about this. I think it's like 3600 milliamp or 3700 milliamp, and this one is 2700. We can look this up right now. Let's look it up.
Oh, that's right. So I remember I looked up the iPhone 6s Plus, and I don't think Apple actually provides this number. Or it could be
here we go. It's 3600 milliamps, so it's a big battery.
Yeah, 3600.
I'm trying to think what a 5.5-inch display.
What's the it's big. It's better than 1080p. Obviously, was like some kind of QHD display, like 2560 by 1440 or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it's a very high. I mean, the display is stunning. 3600. So the standard S7 is a 3000 milliamp battery, but this one is much smaller than that. So,
by the way, a Nexus 6P, which is the Google,
the big one,
is 3450 milliamp.
Okay, so this is bigger. And what's the display size on that?
I want to say it's 5.7. I bet.
Yeah, it's a big display. It's bigger than 5.5.
Yeah, is that what that is? Is 5.5?
5.5, yeah. So yesterday I did a battery test. I used it. I was at home, so obviously I wasn't using it on the go that much. But I was using it for some Twitter and some Facebook and Instagram, like normal things every now and then. Phone calls. I took a couple phone calls. My battery at 1:30 was at 100%. When I spoke to you this morning, Paul, which was probably 10:30, which I had not charged it yet. Oh, no, I'll see. 10 o'clock. It was at 73%. No, 75%.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That sounds pretty good. Obviously, it's a new phone, and
the battery. But you usually are at that point by noon.
Yeah, well,
after charging it overnight,
I'm curious on when I leave my house. I haven't left the house in a while because I was sick. But
like use it out in the world.
Use it out in the world, because if I took this out and I was just on, let's say, Twitter, and I was just scrolling, I would literally every 3 minutes I would see it drop 1%. So I'm curious to see how this performs in that kind of environment. It may be great, it may not be. I haven't done it yet, but the display is setting. The camera is stellar. I tested it in night mode, in a nighttime setting, in low light setting, and it is better. But I wouldn't say it's, oh my God, this is so much better than the S6, or the iPhone. But it is better. It's definitely better.
It's
than
already.
the iPhone.
I mean, it's at the top of the mark. I think as far as camera quality, it's definitely one of the top.
I have to tell you, cameras. I was reading a review last week, and I took the screenshot and I put it on Twitter, and it was a CNET review about the phone, and they compared the phone to the iPhone and a couple other phones. And they said that the iPhone performs better as far as the camera goes. And I couldn't understand that.
No one else has said that. I've not seen
that was the only review. And I was curious on how they tested it.
Yeah.
I should reach out to the guy and be like, hey, how did you test this thing? Because I'm curious, because I cannot see it being better than the iPhone. This is probably the first phone out there that is, popular phone. We're not talking about Lumias. Because Lumia had a phenomenal phone, a phenomenal camera. But this is probably the first Android device that has a noticeable quality difference, better quality than the iPhone.
Okay.
It definitely is noticeable. So everything else, I mean, it's a beautiful phone. The curved display is stunning. It has this. This is the screen. This isn't a lock screen, so this is always on.
Yeah, so that's similar to a glance
Yeah.
screen that we had on Lumia. By the way, the Nexus devices have that kind of thing as well.
Okay. Do the Nexus devices have tap to unlock?
No,
Okay.
no,
So
no.
I don't know why my brain goes to do this now. Every time I look down at this, I always tap it to unlock it.
Uh, you know what though? Actually, okay. So I'm sorry. I'm doing it now in the Nexus. Actually, let me just test that one more time to make sure I saw what I thought I saw. The way that's the screen that you just showed.
Or tap
Actually,
to
just
wake.
came
I'm
on.
sorry. Tap to
Yeah.
wake.
Tap to wake. Yeah. So in other words, when I lift the phone up, that kind of whatever you want to call it, glance type screen appears. Right. It's not there all the time. Like if I just leave it sitting on the table, that will go away. But as I lift the phone up, that screen appears. It's got the time. It's got the date. It's got a couple of notifications.
Yeah.
If I tap the screen, the normal lock screen comes up. So actually, I guess that is tap
That
to
is
wake,
tap
isn't
to
it?
wake. Yeah, that's tap
Okay.
to wake.
'Cause then you can unlock it from there.
I haven't had a tap to wake phone in years, but because I
nice,
see
isn't it?
something, it is well. This one doesn't have tap to wake. Tap to wake is great.
That's yeah.
Yeah, but automatically.
But you know what?
I'm
Okay,
trying
but
to
here's
tap
the
to
thing.
wake it.
The big advantage of that phone over the Nexus 6P from a waking up perspective is you've got that fingerprint reader on the front,
Yes.
right? And the reason tap to wake is so important on the Nexus 6P is because the fingerprint reader is on the back. So if
Yeah,
it's sitting
like-
on a table, you have no way to get onto it without picking it up otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So in your case, you can just hit that button
Yeah.
and scan your finger.
So the printer, the fingerprint unlock, right?
hmm
So saying no match here right now, but wow, no match. Of course, I'm trying to demo it. It's not working. It is way better than the S6.
Yeah.
The
I always
S6
had a
was
big problem
useless.
with this.
It was
yeah,
useless.
The S5 was even more worthless. It was
Yeah.
so terrible.
Display. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's a stunning display.
Yeah.
But everything else is pretty much the same, right? It's Marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
Android is Android. It's Samsung's weird baked, TouchWiz
Yeah.
UI.
Which, by the way, looks better than it used to.
It looks great. I don't mind TouchWiz, and a lot of people hate it. I was a pure
I've always
Android
hated it, but I
person.
saw that the new look of it in that version, and actually it looks okay.
Yeah. It doesn't look bad. Now this screen stuff, I don't know if you could see it. I should have had the camera. So if I could do it pulls up like a weird menu here because it curves. They call it the task edge.
Yeah, this is the edge thing.
Yeah. It's really useless. It's really
I've read
stupid.
that. I've read that from
it's
other
utterly
others.
useless. I don't get
How
it.
do you like the curved screen though? Otherwise,
The curved screen, it's stunning. You know what?
Yeah.
This may be, we talk about like bezel-less and we talk about all that stuff. I really think this is going to be how most of these phones are going to look in the next year or two. They're all going to start doing this curved display.
it's better than bezel-less because it goes beyond where the bezel would be.
It's using the real estate. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're getting extra, you're getting, a tiny, fraction of an advantage here, but it does really change the look of it and it makes it look a lot bigger. I have a 5.5 inch OnePlus One, and I'm comparing it to the two, and this looks way bigger as a display. But you don't have to really make the phone bigger because you're getting that little side curve, Other than that, it's great. I put in a 64 gig chip in there, and so on top of the 32, now I have 64 SD memory. Micro SD is expandable up to 200 gigs.
right, which is new again. I mean, it used to be a thing, but
I don't see them doing this next time.
you think they're going to go every other really and get rid of?
I think they're just playing with it.
Micro
No,
SD?
I think they're
Wow.
just playing with different ideas,
Okay.
I have not tested the water resistancy. I have
Right,
not
why
put
would
it. I have not put it under the water.
I
in the
paid my
sink.
own money for this thing. I'm not going to drop it in water. That's
Yeah.
normal. Yeah.
I've seen some reviews do it. I'm not going to do that.
Yep.
But overall, it's a very nice phone. Very nice phone. Let's
looks
see next
good.
week. I may hate it next week.
My only serious concern about the Samsung devices is updates. I mean, one of the nice things about a Nexus phone, really, a Motorola
You
phone,
get the
there aren't many,
updates, yeah.
but is you get regular updates. And the Nexus in particular, they have monthly updates.
So you know what's interesting about what Samsung is doing now? So let's say there is a feature or a bug that they want to change, right? Or they want to add. And because of the way that the carriers are and sending, a new ROM to them, it's very difficult. What they've done, they split everything apart from the OS. So they're able to upgrade certain aspects of the phone through their Samsung update,
Right.
through the Galaxy Store. Like I had on the S6, there was a camera bug, and they sent the update immediately and added all these features to the camera without doing a major OS update.
Yeah.
So they're patching things on their own, which is pretty cool, and I guess that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm thinking more along the lines of Android N comes out.
Yeah. Who are you going to get?
You're maybe 1 year into 2 years of owning the phone, or a typical customer might be probably not going to get it, or you're going to get it kind of late, or maybe it varies according to wireless carriers. I know with Android M, AT&T for whatever reason got it really late, compared to everyone else.
With what? M? With Marshmallow?
I believe it was M. Yeah. I might be losing track of the version, but yeah.
So you know what's I was reading this thing about how Samsung is handling these phones now. They're doing yearly updates. If you're on those monthly plans where you pay, $32 a month for the phone,
right?
Which everybody's now on those plans. They're not doing these subsidized pricing.
So did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's interesting is that I could have swore I had it with this one.
Yeah.
And apparently, I guess I didn't because they didn't ask me for the phone. So I'm keeping this phone.
Sure.
I thought I had it, but I didn't, I guess.
Wonder what they do with the phones. It's a simple thing to sort of say they resell them or something, but
who's buying them? Yeah.
Well, right. These things, this is like buying a rental car. These things are going to come back in horrific condition in some cases.
Yeah, that's a great question. What do they do with these phones when you trade them in? Like, what does Gazelle do with them? Right.
Well, I don't know.
That's a great question. If anybody knows,
curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an island of misfit toys, but it's for unwanted smartphones.
Maybe emerging markets, maybe refurb. Yeah, that's what it is. It's for refurb. So when, let's say you go through insurance, like Zarian or whatever, it's those phones that they're sending you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
that just means they're stockpiled somewhere, like nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
These like slightly old phones that are in varying degrees of shape.
Well, they're in the same warehouse as the Surface Mini. So they keep everything.
There's a lot more of them than there are Surface Minis.
Yeah. People are saying emerging markets use them for parts. I guess. I don't know.
Stripper phones for parts.
Yeah. For the copper, for the gold.
You put it up on a little jack.
Yeah. They're just stripping it for all the gold.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, beautiful phone. This is probably the best Android phone that's ever been made. It
is nice.
But it's what's funny though? It feels.
I wish you could go pure Android on it. Like I just wish there was an unlocked pure Android version, right?
Yeah.
But it looks beautiful. It looks great. I don't know. I don't have one, but it looks great.
It looks
from
great.
Afar.
Yeah. I just want to use it a little bit more before I could say this is a great phone. The thing about this is when. And you tell me how you feel about this. When you get a new phone, right? Let's say you went from you got the Lumia, what's the 950 XL, right?
Yep.
Which is the latest one. What did you have prior to that?
For what?
Everyday use.
Lumias?
Yeah.
Well, I've gone back and forth. That last year I I bought a 930. Remember early in the year, probably in January. I used that as my primary phone for much of the year, but by the time we got to Europe in the summer for the our home swap, I think I was going back and forth with the iPhone. And then, in the fall, the the Nexus 6P came out, the Nexus 5X. I bought those phones, and I kind of been rotating ever since. And so I go back and forth. Not the last time you saw me, but the last time I came to New York for work, I was using a 950. The time before that, I was using the iPhone. I kind of go back and forth.
But as far as Windows phones go, you were using the
930 primarily. 930. I tested the 640, 640 XL sometime last year. But yeah, 930.
Okay, so you had the 940 and you got the 950 XL. When you got the 950 XL, did it feel like a new phone to you? Like, did it feel like this was a,
no.
like using the OS and using just like running?
No, it didn't. And part of it was the kind of lackluster quality of the body, which is really plasticky feeling. I got a leather case for it, which is beautiful. That changed things. The thing is, like Windows 10 Mobile, I mean, I've been using it I had been to that point using it on different phones, right? Many different phones. And so getting Windows 10 Mobile on this device didn't feel new to me. The big new feature there was the Windows Hello sign-in, which especially right up front, and I still don't think it works great, but they sped it up somewhat. It was really slow and hard to use when it first shipped. So the one thing that was kind of interesting to try, it was like, eh. And of course, it works with Continuum, but I don't really use Continuum.
Yeah.
But it is available on that phone, and so you can, that's what I use to test that
Like, did
stuff.
it feel faster? Like when going around? No. So yeah, it's the same thing like this. Like, there's no, wow, this is like, man, this is so much faster. Man, this feature is great. It's a very nice improvement. It's more aesthetic than anything else. The battery life is
talk. It's on the TikTok scale.
Yeah, it's a talk.
It's not.
It's not a tick. It's a talk.
Yeah.
That's the name of the show.
I mean, it is, right? I mean, and I think in the case of the 930 to 950, there had been a serious amount of time between those phones, which makes it doubly disappointing that it wasn't that big of a change, because Microsoft really waited a long, long time before shipping a flagship.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm going to use this for the rest, for a while, and I'm going to see how it goes with this.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful phone.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be happy with it because no matter where the battery falls, it's going to be better than your last phone.
Yeah, it was such a disappointment.
I've never seen anyone have troubles with battery like that.
And you've seen it happen. I mean, people think like, oh, well, it's what you're running, right? Like, what are you doing on it? Paul and I and Mary Jo have been sitting at the bar.
Yep.
I don't have my phone on me, and I'm like, just look at my battery, and it goes, and I do a full charge, right? Because I bring this ridiculous thing with me. I bring this thing, I do a full charge. I'm like, watch. And you see, every time I get a text or I look at something, it'll drop like 1, 2, 3,
it's
4.
It's like driving a 1975 Plymouth station wagon up a hill.
Yeah,
you can watch the gas go down in real time as you hit the pedal.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in the phone, I definitely say go at least play with it because it is beautiful. And I got the gold one, so to match the case on my Mac.
Yep.
Everything. I'm in a gold mood.
Sure.
So if you want to talk about the Mac, Paul, and why I upset so many people, we can go into that now. So last week I had to go buy a new laptop because my Mac died and I needed a new laptop. Now, I got a bunch of messages from people saying, well, Andrew, why do you need it now? Like, I don't understand why you went into stores. Why would you go into a store to buy it? Why would you go to Best Buy to test out Windows machines? Why wouldn't you go to a Microsoft store to use their machines? Why would you go to the Apple store to buy it? So let me address some of these reasons. One, I needed the computer at that very moment.
Yes.
And I cannot take anything. And the other thing was, well, you don't have any secondary. For someone in technology, you should have a secondary machine. Yes, I have secondary and third machines, but guess what? They're connected to production machines. Everything has a purpose. I don't just lay laptops around my house for no reason.
Oh, I do.
Well,
but
Paul, you are Paul Thurrott.
Sure.
If you didn't, now I would have a problem. So I needed this computer for a very specific reason. I needed it at that very moment. So I went to the store and I got it. The thing that upset people was the fact that, I'll start it with the Mac side. I think that they have gone backwards as far as the keyboard goes.
Right.
And the trackpad it took some adjusting to the trackpad.
So you did get used to it.
I did get used to it, but I'm going to tell you, I still prefer the old one.
Yeah, I always felt like they had gotten the trackpad right, and if that trackpad is anything like the one on the new MacBook, it's terrible,
Yeah, it's
and by the way, I'm sure, look, most people, you buy a machine, you use it, you get used to it, and you go, and some people just, whatever, I'll use a mouse, a Bluetooth mouse or something, but I don't understand that. On a MacBook Pro, where you have the space within the device to support the full-sized, trackpad, why would you screw it up?
Yeah, I don't know. It
was a strange choice.
It's fine. I adjusted to it and I had to, but like anything else, there's some adjusting to it. And they were upset, like, there's nothing wrong with the trackpad. Well, for me, there was. It didn't work great for me. The keyboard, I still think, sucks. I am not happy with this keyboard at all. It's way too noisy. I did the demo last week.
I'm surprised that changed,
Yeah.
But the keyboard throw hasn't changed, right? In other words, the distance you have to press the keys to get them to work.
I think that's what changed because it's a thinner MacBook. It's a thinner MacBook Pro from the previous one that I had. So I'm guessing that the whatever you call that, I can't come up. I don't know why I can't come up with the word. It's probably like the spring, whatever I'm doing right now.
I think of it. This is not the right term, but I think of it as the key throw. It's
the key throw.
The height of the.
Yes.
It's not just the key, but it's the whole mechanism. Of the key. Like it used to be literally like a scissor piece that would kind of go up and down physically, and now I'm sure it's
the throw
a very different design.
Maybe it's a shorter throw, and that's why I don't know. I don't know why, and I read the complaints, and many people complain about this. It's not just me being picky, me having my specific things that I want, and for $2,000, guess what? I should be able to complain about it at this point. That's how I see it. And it's my job to complain about it.
Have you used it for a while, and has it gotten any better? Or is it still?
So that was my theory. One review that I read was at first it's very noisy, and the more you use it, the better it gets. And I'm noticing that slightly. Like the keys that I use more, and like obviously like the brightness and stuff, I don't really touch, so that's a little noisy still. But the stuff that I am using, it's not as noisy.
Right.
But it doesn't feel as well built as the older one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's a little nutty, and a lot of people complain about this. The trackpad issue, a lot of people complains about that too, but there is an adjustment for that. So the Mac people lost it on me. They're like, why don't you go buy a $200 Windows machine then? I'm like, okay, guys, listen, I gotta complain. That's what we do here.
Jeez.
They're just.
Everyone's so sensitive.
250 people are watching live right now and they're in our chat. I don't know how many people are watching live, and the tens of thousands of people listen to this podcast. If I didn't talk about it, people wouldn't know about my issues. And I did get a lot of positive feedback from people saying, "Hey, I didn't know about that. The keyboard is really important to me. I've been using a ThinkPad for years." That was one email that I got, and I'm thinking about going over. I'm gonna want to use this before I jump over because I type a lot. And my thing to him was stick with a ThinkPad if that's what you're doing. The Windows guys got very upset because I said that. Huh?
The jerk! You bought a Mac.
Yeah, I bought a.
What's wrong with you trendy hipster?
I bought a Mac, and
you sicken me.
Why would you buy a Mac, Andrew? You're an idiot. Why would you spend that much money, Andrew? You're an idiot. Because I'm an idiot, and I they're pretty.
Yeah. Because they're pretty. That's good. I bought it because it was pretty.
Yeah. So here's what they said to me. They were not very happy with the fact that I said that the trackpads on Windows on PCs are not great, and they've gotten better. They're close. They're very, very close. But it's still not to that quality.
Everything you just said is perfectly reasonable, and as someone who reviews laptops as part of my job, I can tell you it was accurate as well.
Okay. Listen, the Surface, the Surface Book, by all accounts, is the best trackpad.
We talked about this, I think, probably last week, but it's fair to say that we are in an interesting era in the PC world for trackpads because those things have gotten a lot better. Surface Book is a good example. Even the one in the Surface Pro 4 is good, even though it's small. The HP one that's on a variety of devices. It's on the HP Envy Notebook. It's on the Spectre. Excellent. The touchpad that goes along with the Track Point on ThinkPads, the X1 Carbon, the X1 Yoga that I'm reviewing now, the T460S, I think it's called, that I'm going to review soon, is fantastic.
Yeah.
All of them. So there's a lot of good choices out there. The new Apple trackpad notwithstanding, I mean, just in general, like the MacBook Air, the typical MacBook Pro trackpad has always been the kind of industry standard. I mean, it's the goal that everyone is trying to attain is that level of performance, that level of smoothness, that level of it just works. That level of typing and it doesn't move the cursor around, while I'm typing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I can't understand why anyone would complain with that.
Okay, so here's a great question, right? Andrew, the question is, what's better, the Surface Book trackpad or the trackpad on your new Mac? The trackpad on the Mac is still
even though it's not as good as it used to be.
Even though it's not as good as it used to be, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, just you're talking about. It
I bet it's pretty close.
It's very close. It's very close, but it's still not there. Listen, the next generation Surface Book will be a lot better than the first generation Surface Book, and at that point, the argument may be totally swung to the other side, and the Surface Book will have the best trackpad as far as the laptops go. And it's also dependent on what you're used to.
Yep.
You know, I'm used to the Mac trackpad. It's going to be a major adjustment for me, and I don't want to make that right now. I don't want to adjust that much. You know, I shouldn't have to adjust that much. Is the Mac better than the X1 Carbon? Yes, that Mac is better than the X1 Carbon trackpad. I can tell you, definitely.
By the way, there are other advantages to the X1 Carbon, right? It's a lot thinner and lighter.
It's a lot thinner and lighter. Yeah, it's a beautiful device.
Yeah, you can get an X1 Yoga, like the thing I wrote about today, and it, transforms into tents and stuff. And if you want that kind of thing, it's it's got multi-touch. It has a pen.
Okay, Paul, maybe you could explain this. Okay. What's the big dealio about this trackpad? What is it about the Mac trackpad that makes it so much better? Can you explain that?
What is it about it?
Yeah, can I give my asshole-ish Mac response? It's a Mac. That's what.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
To the tune of, I have the latest rendition of the MacBook Air, which is not particularly new, right? We're kind of hoping that thing gets revved, if not next week or whenever that event is, then sometime very soon. But the trackpad on that thing is excellent, and it is the thing that I hold up. But when I review trackpads and other pointing devices, I mean, I always compare it to that. But the thing is, if you install Windows on that machine, the trackpad doesn't work as well in Windows.
No,
it's
does
not
not.
Windows' fault,
Yeah.
Per se. I think, I should say, I know that Apple specifically doesn't provide the best possible drivers for the hardware devices when you do a boot camp install in a Mac, because they don't want it to be as good. That's fine. And there are third-party utilities that try to fix that, and they don't really, but they make it a little bit better than it is by default. So it's very interesting on that one machine to note the difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's the synthesis between the hardware and the software being made by the same company.
Absolutely.
I think there really is something to do that. That's why Surface exists.
Absolutely.
You can look, if you are familiar with Surface and you want to compare the trackpad from the original type cover all the way through the one on the Surface Book, there is an amazing progression where this thing goes up in quality over time. And I would say that the Surface,
from what to what?
From the original Surface to the Surface Book.
It's
night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one was made of the same material as the cover. It was crazy. It was so bad, it was just stupid. And eventually they went to glass, and it's nice. And if you have a Surface Pro 4 or a Surface Book, even better. Excellent trackpads. But I don't have the one you have, so I can't judge that one.
Yeah.
I've used a MacBook, a new MacBook. I find that trackpad to be terrible. In a very strange regression.
That's a little
for Apple.
worse, though. It's not exactly the same. I'm
because it's thinner. It's they probably just don't have the
that one is a little.
need.
You know what? One of my friends, Michael Manna. I don't know if he's listening right now. He just bought a MacBook and he just returned it like the same day. So I don't know if he returned it for a whole different reason. I don't know, but I'd like to know why he returned it. I'll probably ask him.
The one thing this will be hard to show you, but let's see if I can open this thing up. Like, this is an X1 Yoga, which it's probably a hair thicker than the X1 Carbon. But let me see if I can get it. This is the front, and you can see how thin it is at the front. Well, maybe you can. I don't know if I'm not doing this very well. There you go. And that area, this is where the trackpad is. It's the thinnest part in the front. And the trackpad on this thing is actually excellent. And I think the thing that's really interesting about this device, and this would be true of the X1 Carbon as well, is how good they're able to get it in such a thin package. It's something to do with the materials. This thing has that kind of carbonate, or polycarbonate or whatever I can't even think of the name of it. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it right. But they have this kind of industrial strength, but very light and thin material that they build out of. And it helps them achieve great thinness, but also very high quality and durability, But I don't have your computer here side by side. I'm not going to be able to say, definitely this thing is better or worse or whatever. But I can compare it to the MacBook Air that I have. And, in Mac OS X,
Yeah.
the gesture support and all that stuff. It's the best. It's the bar. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
It's
getting
just,
close.
It's the
We're getting
overall
close.
feel. I mean, it really comes down to the overall feel. It's
Yeah. And, experience helps, like you said. I mean, just using something over time, you get used to it and you adapt to its quirks and you stop kind of seeing it. And when you go to a different machine that doesn't behave in the same fashion, you find that to be off-putting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just based on what you use.
Absolutely. I mean, this goes for anything. I mean, you go from any kind of machine to another one. It's going to take some adjustment.
By the way, I use a lot of computers.
Yeah.
And so I don't really get that kind of mentality lock-in. Like I really like when I do get to a ThinkPad, I really like the dual pointing experience. I love the track point, the little, the red nubbin thing. I think it's fantastic. But I can use trackpads and I do. I mean, if you were to look at the 12 months of last year, I probably used a ThinkPad for maybe 1 or 2 of those months. I have no problem going back and forth, but I think when you do get not stuck. I mean, most people, they buy something to use it. That's what you're used to. I think that colors your perception of things. Yeah.
So Coach Z says, how is it better though? Like what exactly is it that makes it better? And by us just saying it's precision. Just better. It's precision, it's erraticness, it's response.
By the way, before Apple perfected the trackpad, so to speak, trackpads were very jumpy. They were skippy. You would be typing and it would you'd hit it with your hand and the mouse cursor would move around a lot. And for that reason, for many years, I always brought a mouse. By the way, I should say, I still travel with a mouse, right? I find myself not needing it as much anymore, but for real precision work, especially when I'm in Photoshop, I'd like to have a mouse. But these modern trackpads, it's a very interesting thing over the past year, and maybe this is something that changes for me going forward. I find myself needing or wanting that mouse less and less, and that's how you can tell things are improving. I think the Apple one was notable because it was the first time where you're like, wow, this thing works.
This thing works.
It works.
It just works.
Yeah. Precision trackpads like the one in the Surface Book are very, very good. They're very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
The Apple event's coming next Monday, which I'm going to be doing coverage of and that I love doing.
Yep.
Paul knows how much I love doing this. 4-inch iPhones, possible new 9.7-inch iPad, and possible refresh to the MacBook Pro line. This 4-inch iPhone, did we talk about this last week or no?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. I'm reading, initially, it's so funny how perception and people's opinion changes, right? At first, people are like, oh, this is dumb. This is so stupid. Why would they do this? Why would they go backwards? And now the same people that were complaining about the same exact thing are now saying, well, there is a market for this. It's going to be cheaper, first of all.
Well, that's, by the way, was the talk before the iPhone 5C came out.
Yeah, it's going to be so much cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This will be great. They're going to compete with the low-end phone. No, that's not how Apple does things.
It's not going to be that much cheaper. It's still going to be very expensive if you want to buy it on subsidized, number one. This is I don't know. I don't know why. I feel it's a step backwards to put the 4-inch iPhone out. I really think it's them going backwards and, kind of bending for that minority of people that are screaming that they want a smaller iPhone.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I do too. When you develop, obviously these things have gotten better over time, and I don't develop day to day, but I look at the developer stuff because one of the key issues here is going to be you make apps for iOS, and in the beginning you had one screen size to worry about, one screen resolution. And then as the devices proliferate and different new versions come out in high res, Retina class screens, all of a sudden you have all kinds of stuff, screen sizes, resolutions, everything, all the way from the tiniest, whatever the currently supported phone is, probably an iPhone 5, all the way up to an iPad Pro, right, which has a 13-inch screen basically with whatever resolution. So a crazy range of, and by the way, they have different aspect ratios, right? They're not all 4:3 or whatever. They're, and this is something you have to deal with. Now, Apple has tools for developers to help make that process simple, but this is like a typical example of how Apple, which used to have a very simple product grid, now has ginormous number of products. And I think it just confuses matters. This is not just for developers, for users as well. It gets to the point where you've heard the theory where when you have too much choice, it's too hard to make a choice and you just don't make a choice. I think one of the neat things about the Apple ecosystem was always that you walked into the Apple store and said, well, I want an iPhone. And they said, here it is, and it's obviously, it's fine to have a few different models and versions, and you can have colors and different things to make them stand out. But at some point, they're just addressing every single little niche audience. And I suppose we're going to find out how big that niche audience is, because at WWDC, they're going to say, hey, we sold tens of millions of these things and all you people were wrong. It really is such a great idea. But if it was such a great idea, why'd they walk away from it? I mean, how is this not throwing spaghetti against the wall? Like if this was such a known market need, why are they only addressing it now, 2 years after they walked away from this?
Yeah, I guess that what they're trying to do is be Samsung, right? They're going to have a smaller Galaxy and a larger Galaxy and an Edge Galaxy, and that's how Samsung does stuff. But Apple's not Samsung.
Samsung also sells really low-end phones.
Yeah, very low-end phones and very high-end phones.
Apple's never going to do that. I don't get it. I think at some point it's just, I see a lack of direction here. It's sort of like the iPad Pro. This is the future. That didn't sell too well. Okay, so now we're going to make a 9.7-inch version of it.
But okay, so what happens? So they're making a 9.7-inch version of the iPad Pro, but what's the difference between that and the Air? Are they going to discontinue the Air?
It's the new version of the Air.
It's the new version of the Air, and the Air is now the Pro.
Yeah.
Am I from what I understand, is that so what's the regular iPad? Is there going to be a regular iPad, like an iPad?
I don't think there's so the regular iPad today is the iPad Air.
Yes.
I think we have an iPad mini and we have an iPad Pro. I think that's, except it comes in two different sizes.
Yeah, it's a little convoluted.
Yes.
Yeah. A little convoluted. I'm curious about this event. I mean, it seems like they're making they're doing an event for a 4-inch iPhone technically. It can't be that. So a 9.7-inch iPad Pro, fine. I guess that's fine if people are buying iPads. But other than that, if they don't, maybe they're going to have a new watch, Paul.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think they're going to have new watch straps. I mean, I think they're going to just throw a bunch of, midstream stuff out there. And that's, honestly, it's fine. Like you were talking earlier, the MacBook Air, in particular, the MacBook Pro, these things are well beyond the need to be updated. They don't even use Skylake.
No, they're using Broadwell.
Yeah, so it's time to...
I think Broadwell's is Haswell, pretty much, right?
I think it's the talk from Haswell's tick, I think. I could be wrong, but it's the gen before Skylake, yeah.
I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guys, if you want to help us out, you want to support the show, you want to support What the Tech, you can do so by going to our Patreon page. Patreon.com/WhatTheTech is a site. You can fund us there, anything you want. In return, we give you guys some bonus material. We record it live each and every week following What the Tech. It's called What the Talk. We just talk about anything, technology, our lives, whatever we decide we're going to talk about that day. We do that as a bonus show. We put it exclusively on Patreon, and you guys go there and you watch it. We are trying to work on an RSS. I know a lot of people want an RSS for that feed. They want it on YouTube. We're trying to figure something out. It's very difficult to do so when you're behind a paywall like that, but I think we have come up with some sort of idea that may work. I'm going to do some testing in the coming weeks and see if that happens. If not, then I'm going to have to start over again. Also, if you want to support the show, you could do so by also buying stuff on Amazon. Every time you go buy something on Amazon, we got a tiny little credit. Go to gfk.co/Amazon, bookmark it, and buy your stuff from that link. Paul, I wanted to talk to you about one other thing today. And I know you are someone with thousands of devices everywhere. Literally thousands, right? We counted one day. It was like 1,400 devices.
Certainly.
1,400 devices just laying
over my shoulder back there. Yeah.
Just piled up. You become a hoarder of technology.
I make igloos out of them.
Yeah. And I am now approaching that moment where I need to come up with a better system because I have all these phones that I regularly use now. I'm using the Lumia every day. I'm using the S7. I have my iPad. I have my laptops. I have all these charging bricks. I got other phones that I lay around just for notifications in the house. So I need a better way to charge these things. So I wanted to talk to you about accessories that make your life a little easier.
Yeah.
things that you're using that kind of, help you out along the way, because it gets a little overwhelming. And listen, most people don't have these problems, right? Most people don't have 10,000 devices that they're using at the same time, but
Well,
you,
no, it's not.
myself,
It's not.
and our viewers, I know a lot of
Yeah.
our viewers have multiple devices laying around here and there. So I want to talk to you about, managing that and some of these things, tricks, tips that you could give us to make it easier.
Okay. Just here you go.
Yeah.
Well, over this side, you can kind of only barely see it, but what I have over there are two organizer drawer things I got on Amazon. I bought one and thought it was so neat. I bought another one. This is like a little pull-out drawer you can put accessories in, but what it provides is a back where there's a little power strip in there, I think with 4 ports. You put the wires down there, kind of organizes them all. You can put a bunch of phones up there, and I need that because obviously I have a bunch of phones. And other devices, they can charge tablets, whatever, through there. And that's kind of neat. And then at home recently, I don't know if I probably can't pull this up to show you. I think the cord's not long enough. But the thing I showed you on Amazon, I think it's an Anchor 6-port USB kind of a hub, but it doesn't plug into a computer. It plugs into the wall or whatever. And it charges, I think you can charge 2 or 4 iPad class devices plus phones, or, in my case, I'll probably just mostly do phones. But what I wanted to do, I switched to that Intel NUC, and I've got the big screen and everything, but it doesn't have a lot of expansion, and I didn't want to hoard, USB ports with devices. And so I got this just so in front of me I can have, I have an iPhone, I have an Nexus 6P, I have the Lumia 950, and I have other devices that come through, or I'm testing a device or whatever it is. And it gives me just a place here in front of or it's behind the computer, but the wires come out in front, where you can just kind of handle that stuff locally. There's all kinds of little things. Like I behind me, I travel, I always bring like a little kind of gadget bag when I go away, but I'm always looking for little things that make life easier. Like I got these little tiny lightning cables. They were on sale at Amazon. They were really cheap, but they're really high quality. And actually, it's Anchor makes them. It has this nice little twisty tie. And so, you think about like a trip, like rather than having like a long, fragile Apple cable, which is really expensive, you can bring this small, cheap, and durable cable. And it's literally designed to be durable. That's the point of this kind of cable. And it's just something you can throw in a bag. You don't notice it. It's just kind of there. And so I bought like 3 of them. I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And so a lot of it's like stuff like that. Like when I replaced my travel power strip, which is this new thing now, the Belkin one, I guess.
Yeah.
The thing that this has is USB ports, right? So it only has 3 power ports for, major devices like laptops and stuff. But really, what I really need mostly on the road is this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
In charge, if I bring an iPad to watch movies or read books on, I can charge that. I can charge my phone on this thing. And basically, when you travel to a hotel room where there's only a couple of power ports, this thing makes that bearable. That's especially true in Europe, or depending on the class of hotel you're in. I mean, obviously, business class hotels are starting to get the message on that stuff, but it's just the goal is always to minimize the amount of crap you have, but kind of maximize, the amount you can do with it. And I think that's true at home or, on the road as well. I don't know if there's anything else of interest.
For me, the biggest, kind of tip that I would have is get one of these portable batteries.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to get a big one. Like I have this, like this is a smaller one. This is 6,000 milliamp, which is great because I would get, a charge and a half on this phone, but a charge and a half when you need a charge is great. They have smaller ones also, 2,400 milliamp, and much smaller ones than this. But this thing has been a lifesaver for me because I cannot tell you how many times I've been in the city and my battery has died, and I've had to use this to charge it, and I'm not walking around half the day without a phone, which happens a lot in my case. I don't know if it's going to continue happening, but these things have been a lifesaver. But the management, the management of like a station to have all my devices plugged into, that is something I need to get like now, because I have way too many devices that are just like, at this point what I'm doing, I'm plugging one in and plugging one out. Like I'm just constantly in this cycle of charging stuff, which is kind of crazy. You're always going to play catch up there. So I just wanted to know how you do it, and which station are you using? Do you know?
Station?
Yeah, like the charging area. Like one of those, I think you sent me a link for it, but
The one that's on my desk.
Yeah.
It's Anchor is the name of the company. I mean, they make those chargers too. They're and actually I think they make this cable. If I'm not mistaken. For some reason, I should probably invest in this company. I seem to have a bunch of their stuff. I just like stuff that works. I spend a lot of time. I read like travel and kind of tech blog things about like what to bring on the road and how people work. It's always kind of interesting to me. The phone that you have has what do you call it, quick charging or whatever, and the Moto X has that as well. It requires a special power adapter. In my case, you need a USB-C cable. Does it make sense to bring that on the road because it's this huge brick? And like you kind of go through the math on this stuff, like whether it makes sense. Not to mention the fact that when you have a bunch of these things, you kind of lose track of them.
I'll tell you, for my phone, the quick charge is a necessity because I've tried to charge even this one, right? The Samsung, with just like a normal USB cable, and without like a quick charge, brick, and it takes forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a smart way to do it.
I charged the Nexus 9 tablet the other night because I wanted to get Android N going, and I mistakenly I plugged it into just a normal phone micro USB. It's probably
you woke up, it was like 5% charged.
Oh yeah. No, it took overnight, before I charged.
Yeah. It's some of these things it's a necessity, but I don't know. I need to get one of those areas, so I just wanted to ask you about that. And I know a lot of our viewers are, and based on the discussion I'm seeing right now, they're into this stuff. Anchor does do very good portable battery packs also. That's something else.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I think
true.
I have the Jockery.
Of varying sizes. Yeah. Yep, those guys are good too.
The Jockery and I think the Chiro.
Yeah. Jackery or Jockery, whatever that is. Yeah. I have one of those. That's in my carry bag. I always, bring, because you never know.
Yeah, like this one is 12,000 milliamp. I mean, that's
I think I have one roughly. Actually, I have a smaller one than that, but I just bring a small one just in case. Because with a phone or whatever, you want to make sure you can charge the or that it's charged when you arrive somewhere or out in the world, whatever.
Yeah. All right, Paul. I think that's it for this week. I think we go and do our post show, guys. If you're watching live, stay tuned. We're going to continue with our show. We're going to continue our post show. It's called What the Talk. Paul and I do it each and every week. We just talk about nonsense. Paul, anything coming up? Anything new?
No, no. I wasn't sure if I'd be traveling again before the end of the month, but I'm not. So that's my next thing is build.
Okay. You're going to, oh yeah, you are. Build is almost here.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to it, or do you like?
I'm not completely negative about it. I'm not over the top excited about it. I mean, the flight to San Francisco is terrible. But yeah, no, I'm not.
You're okay this year.
I'm not looking forward to it like a vacation, but I'm happy to do it. I like Build. This is always a good show for me. It's a good setup. I stay at the Mazda Hotel. It's 10 seconds away from the place where the show is. It's good. So it's going to be a nice, easy trip when I'm there. The flying part sucks, but it should be okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. Go to the website, gfqnetwork.com. Subscribe where everywhere podcasts are available. Subscribe to the podcast. We have an audio version, a HD version, an SD version. We're everywhere. And that's it for this week. Take care.